Good evening, good evening. I'm your host, I'm Tam Behind the Mic. I just threw this hat on because my hair's half done. I have to get familiar with coming live in my space. I'm still fixing it up. And I wanted to come to you live. First of all, I want to take a moment of silence for Angie B. Angela Stone. All right, let's get into it. I'm not used to going live. Um, I'm Tam Behind the Mic. I'm a hip hop pioneer from Queens. I started out in 1976, and I've had some dealings with the music industry and outside the music industry. So, what I wanted to do was chop it up with the audience. Let me get my little Polo Santo, because a lot of stuff that we deal with today in this day and age, in the energy and the negative and evil spirits, you have to smoke them away. So I believe in this holy wood. It's Polo Santo. I've experienced and I've gone through a lot as a young kid in the music industry. Well, when we started out in the parks. I'm from Queens. Everybody say the Bronx this, the Bronx that. We didn't know about the Bronx until later. So all of these shifts in the narratives, that's another story. And I'll probably go into that topic maybe later on in another segment. But what I wanted to discuss is Angie Stone. And the last time I met up with her was in 2017 at the Alibaba Room. It was the Women in Hip Hop weekend. Sharrock, Lady B, Sparky D was there. Roxanne Shante came that night on Friday. And I was there because I had heard from various different outlets that they were creating a museum. And they, at that time, when you heard the buzz, you didn't know where exactly it was going to be. Then we heard it's going to be in the Bronx. And from all of the challenges and the mishaps and the assaults within the music industry that I experienced, I knew it's snakes from the early on. I grew up in St. Albans in the Hollis area. I went to school in Queens. Um, so I'm familiar with LL when he was a kid, and we would let him get on the mic. D from Run DMC in junior high school. He did attest that I'm the only female that he's ever DJed for. At a guy named Douglas McAllister, Born G, who used to live on Murdoch Avenue, off Murdoch, in fact. He still owns the house, and I'm still in contact because I'm trying to piece a lot of things together. And Hurricane as well. But we're going to talk about first the music industry. Does the evil only exist in the music industry, or is it outside as well? Now, I remember trying to get on, and if you want to know more of my story, you could go visit. You can go visit Layla Wills, where I did her live some years ago. And I've been an advocate for children and for people in general because of all that I've endured. And a lot of times, the establishments that are supposed to protect and preserve our legacies, or even us as an individual, they fail. The systems fail, unfortunately. And a prime example is Angie Stone. And her last time she spoke upon what was going on, some sage too. I got some sage. Because I protect my house. I protect my grandkids, everybody, from those negative vibrations that people send out. I don't know. I'm not with the conspiracy theorists, but I do know that there's always power in the tongue, you know? And if you believe in the biblical aspect of it, you'll know what I'm saying and you'll understand what I'm saying. So I'm try to be very cautious on what I say, you know, or even put out there and put that energy to manifest to come back. And like I said, in 2017, Angie and I, we hit it off because we saw what was going on. We heard what was going on. And Angie, being just like me, a typical Sagittarian, we say what's on our mind. We're very candid, very blunt, but we're sincere. And we love people. And we try to give people the benefit of the doubt of doing the right thing by us because we try to do the right thing by them. And we believe in forgiving. But some things don't warrant forgiveness. They really don't. Yeah, so they were, trying to demean and lower the contribution that sequence meant to the industry. Because they broke down barriers. I remember when they came out, because like I started rapping in 1976, and the elites or the powers that be decided that that wasn't the narrative they was trying to go by. With me starting in the parks and Queens, and us not knowing at the time anything about the Bronx. I thought it was just a New York City thing. And by the time 1977 came around, I was already down in North Carolina. But we'll get into that another time when I go live. Because I'm just trying to get familiar. I got my cousins coming. They're going to set up this space because I need to take this up as a hobby. And, if you want to contribute some coins, my Cash App is there, my PayPal. And I know some things that I'll eventually be delving into. I'll have to do it on another platform like Patreon because of YouTube. Again, Angie and I was discussing how we could see that they were trying to change various different narratives, and how, when they started out, they never heard anything about New York City rapping and anything like that. And how do they know what was going on in South Carolina? Which so happens, one of my cousins, Otis, we call him Red Thompson, but he's my uncle's son. I think he's the second oldest down there in South Carolina. He knew Angie. He was a rapper. He came up here one time. He knew Angie as a kid because of her aunt and her relatives down there. And I agreed. And I said to her too, how could they possibly say anything in regards to Queens, because they wasn't out there. In the 70s, all the boroughs were territorial. You had to know somebody, you had to have family, and you just wasn't publicizing, who you was and where you was from. And when I went down to North Carolina, I saw and I played in a nice little spot, which I did finally get some receipt on, at Billy Woods, that Disco King Mario's son, brother speaks upon him. Big J and Big Mike, they were staples down there. And I know they wasn't from New York, so it's a whole debacle, but it's to the extent that they go when you don't go along with the get along, how they try to ostracize you, and they try to stagnate your career, And let's just talk about, them jerking you. Everybody, they like crabs in a barrel. They don't want one to get ahead of the other. And a lot of DJs did that. If you was an artist and MC like myself, let me fix my crystals. See, I keep my armors on. Everybody do it different, but I keep my aura and everything space cleared and protected. Yeah, they would somehow botch your demo, stupid stuff. Like I think it was a blessing and a curse that I didn't go get to mainstream, because I would have never gone for it, even though I had offers. Not only when I went down to Def Jam before the ship was up and moving, because again, I was from St. Albans and New Spider D. Everybody knew me, even the South Side. I started out from South Side MCM, but they try to debunk everything if you don't fit that narrative. And yet, if you're not in the clique and the group and all of that nonsense and all the things that were going on, the kids being, you know, I think I can't say that word, but the P word, boys and girls. But that wasn't only in the music industry. I left home at a very early age, and the place that I was staying, unbeknownst to me, the boys were being assaulted by one of the employees there. And it was the staff that had the courage to save those boys. And unfortunately, it has been decades, and people have not had the gall to stand up and to advocate because of greed and money. hmm That's my synopsis of it all. That this is like an indirect slavery, and perhaps how we got into slavery. Selling ourselves, selling our souls, selling ourselves out. And it's so unfortunate. And I've reached out to Angie Stone's daughter, Diamond, and I know she's so crushed because, like everybody said, Angie was a beautiful spirit. She was kind, she told it like it was, and she had insight, and she trusted the wrong people. And I've done that countless times too, and you always hoping that your people of color, black, will always do the right thing by you. And that doesn't necessarily happen. Yeah, it doesn't necessarily happen. It didn't happen with me, and it didn't happen with her, with all her body of work. So what I did was I reached out to Diamond, and I let her know that my prayers and my virtual hugs are with her, her brother, her children, and me knowing firsthand on the depth of grief from losing both of my parents under odd circumstances, as well as losing my daughter. And my godson was set up like 6 weeks after. And the bureaucracy and the cover ups, and how people don't necessarily do the right thing. They know that they're wrong, but they be strong at the same time. And that is simply disparaging, and it creates a lot of complexities. And it's very traumatizing as well. In addition, today I let Diamond know that, um, and gave her some guidance from experience. And I must disclaim, I'm not a grief counselor, I'm not an expert. I just share what has been conducive and helping me along the way. And I'll never be the same and I'll never be whole. You got to excuse the little mess in here. Uh, I'm taking my time trying to clear it out. My cousins are coming next week and going to help fix up some stuff so I can have a little bells and whistle. Um, and we'll take it from there. But I suggested to Diamond that she seek some grief support for her and her brother in loss of a parent, a mother, and the grandchildren too, because everybody's impacted and everybody's affected by it. And, and then the stories that you hear, that kind of amplify the circumstances surrounding it, what happened. And that Angie was the only one that succumbed to the fatality of that crash. I don't know if it was a setup. I know that, what was going on with Angie was heavy on her heart, like it would be heavy on anybody's heart. What was being done in all that body of work. And it let me know that sometimes other people's rejection is God's protection. But I do know that the power of thought, and people could speak negativity and evil upon you. And it's very powerful because, after all, we're spiritual creatures being housed in a physical body. Indeed. And I'm sure, just like, people have wished ill things upon me, and it may have, came to my daughter. Because I lost my daughter on Thanksgiving and my birthday. And there was city agencies involved, Adult Protective Services. ACS was in there, preventive services, and the like. And a lot of my daughters is stemmed from when she was young. And we was living in Queens, in Astoria. And I was still trying to get on. And when you're naive and you just want to think the best of people, people are not always, they don't have your best interests at heart. And you never think that how wicked that they can be, but they are. And they're self-servant, which is really, it's heartbreaking, it's baffling. And then when you come from a different lifestyle, that, you think that people are being honest and being true, you learn the hard way. You come from a naivety of what the business is like and what people are like, period. Because you can be around bad company. Because like Angie discussed, she said that, people that she had employed and even companies that she thought was going to do the right thing by her, they didn't, and protect her interests. But they protected their own interests. And it happens within the business and without. Because I used to be employed with the city. And I know I've never seen so much cutthroat in my life. And again, I was kind of a target because we become a target because we Sagittarius. We dance to the beat of our own drum. We really do. And we're sincere and we're candid. And we always trying to shoot the bow and arrow. And we just want to come in and do our job and just go on with the business of life. But we count on people being fair, and then just not. It's things, and people are just not equitable across the board. And here I thought that I could contribute, and I've lost a lot of my content and probably stuff was destroyed. But I'm glad that I learned some lessons. I've learned some lessons that turned out into blessings. But the simple fact that I didn't give my shit up. I didn't give my intellectual property up. Nah, 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 nah. And I have a lot of stuff that's protected, just in case. Because I'm not playing. I'm really not. So anyway, I had suggested to Angie's daughter, that for me and grieving and the grandchildren, it had been conducive. You'll never be the same when such a tragedy like that happens. You're not the same. I'm not the same person. I'm not able to work. I recently was trying to pursue a remedy, and a lot of stuff was going on. And I wasn't able to focus properly. Yeah, so the things that go on in the music industry goes on in various different industries. They private sector, public sector. You see what's going on with the bureaucracy. The mayor of New York City, the museum. I've spoken to so many different people from Queens and saying like, yo, we wasn't going to the Bronx. I've even spoken with former DJs in Brooklyn that have now relocated out of state. So, and to the extent that they do to permeate and spread the false narratives and history is ridiculous. In my opinion, I try to stay away from them damn people. And most of the times I'm put in situations that, you feel funny because when I was out there, I knew some of the bizarre stuff was happening. Like, there was people are treated differently. If they think that you're elite, they try to put other people's on a pedestal. And if they don't know how much you've contributed to the industry or your body of work or what you have done in your lifetime, and they go according to hearsay, which is BS. I've been called all sorts of names because I wouldn't just stand in line. No, because I'm not going to stand in line and the history is being distorted and people becoming harmed and children are not protective. Our young men, our young women are not being protective because we are being sold out for evil purposes. It ain't right and it'll never be right. So, this is my first live, and I'll be going live and I will be uploading videos in the near future. But again, this thing that we're seeing, the treachery, is not only in the music industry, it's among us as Black folks. It's among every practically industry. If someone has an agenda, they don't care about how they get there, the harm that they cause, and the retribution. Now, we have laws and we have policies, but they're not in place for everybody. They're just not. And at a later date, I'll go into more particulars, but I just wanted to check in for you YouTube tubers, troopers. And again, I'm Tam Behind the Mic, and I'll see you soon.